Well, hello, and welcome back to Cawville, which is what I call this channel sometimes. Caw being my initials. CAW, because I have an affinity for ravens and crows and corvids because they are smart birds who have been accused of holding a grudge, but I think they just have pattern recognition. It's what if you don't have that skill, develop it. Uh, I just want to rant and rave at you for a little bit. So I've been in a bit of a strange, surreal fever dream spiral now for, let's see, 55 years, but at least for sure the last decade. And I feel someone who has absolutely been my cyber stalker, tormentor, attempted and failed handler, who I've written about a lot and talked about a lot. There's three big ones, but one of them is in the news cycle right now and in a fair amount of trouble for quote unquote his, because I believe it's an FTM, past with hurting girls and women. I think this person is a recruiter and a groomer and a flying monkey for the system because usually they're all three. You know, they have a very structured hierarchy in the satanic and Luciferian worship realm, and they love things like status and rank, and how they get there is humiliation rituals. So I'm always wary and leery of the timing of when someone's blackmail or compromise material starts to surface and it starts to be taken more seriously, or at least seems that way. I'm very skeptical these days of everything and everyone. And you just have to challenge that, right? You have to push back on it and question it and ask what the motives are behind certain things that are being pushed out for optics, basically, and for distraction, and for looshing, and for harvesting our energy, and for division and chaos mongering and fear. So that was, I actually all week wanted to get some bubbly, like some champagne or some prosecco or something to celebrate, and I thought, well, I don't really need alcohol to celebrate this news. That's just sort of a mental construct that you clink together two champagne glasses in a celebratory moment of something that maybe you've seen or felt coming for a long time, but then you started to despair that it ever would or could. Because these people, these creatures, are highly, highly protected um, by their fellow brotherhood brethren and sisters of light and mothers of darkness. And again, more titles, more bullshit. Because they just need to have their little participation trophies, which are Oscars and Grammys, to say, hey, yes, I kill babies and I eat them too. Yay, yay, me. And then they get mansions and they get yachts and they get, um, clothing lines and makeup lines and alcohol lines and coffee products. And every celebrity business and product and merch is a cover for human trafficking and is a laundering mechanism for the beast system, in my opinion, and in my observation, and in my research of listening to a lot of whistleblowers, survivors, overcomers, and defectors of said system, of Masonic systems that have the Masonic umbrella, which all the little spokes of the umbrella are things like Scientology and Jehovah's Witnesses and Catholicism and organized religion in general, which organized religion, organized crime, organized, uh, crimes against humanity. And then it's a shell game, you guys. It's just a giant fucking shell game. Look over here, not over here. And pay attention to this, not that. That's all they're ever doing. So everything they ever do is a psyop, a psychological operation, and everything they ever do is revelation of the method. And if they tell you, whether it's in skits or jokes or lyrics about choking women, and then deny, 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 deflect, 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 project, 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 it's a very old, very outdated, very inefficient and ineffective playbook. In their mind, it's efficient and effective because their agendas are depopulation. And so there's a lot of slimy ways they go about that, the COVID jab being one of them, in my opinion. the Fauci ouchie, and anybody who glamorizes or glorifies that two-time genocidal maniac is a sleaze and is rage baiting you and is beyond all redemption and hope. Anybody who still thinks that a person who perpetrated not one, but two genocides for the beast system, for their Masonic cult, because they are demonically addled, they are inverted, they are perverted, they are liars, they are losers for Lucifer. This is why you use such harsh language, because you can't tell me that me swearing or calling them names is even in the same realm as them hurting children in ritual or trafficking them or profiting from that and then lying about it to cover their own asses and each other's asses, because that's what pedophiles do. That's what they do. They have like a secret code and a secret language and even hand signs and wardrobe and color programming and gems. And I mean, it's exhausting. They're exhausting in their need for their secrecy, because secrecy will keep you sick. It is a disease. Fame is a pestilence. And their wealth is ill-gotten. It's blood-soaked. And it's done through extreme evil acts that your brain couldn't even begin to comprehend, because I've heard this for years and years and years now, and I still have to compartmentalize. I have to try to be high functioning with all this information and intel. And so some people say, well, I don't need to know all that, or why do I want to know that, or what does that do for me, or how can I, help or impact that if I'm so in despair and overwhelmed and inundated with all this horror. And it's like, well, how are you going to be effective if you don't know what's going on? How are you going to be part of the change if you don't know the problem? How will you be part of the solution if you aren't aware of the playbook? How will you be, here to serve others and help and be part of the change if you're just waiting instead of doing? If you're just watching instead of participating in exposure, which is really what we're called to do right now. Whistleblowers, overcomers, survivors, whatever they want to call us, victims. They love to call us that, right? It serves their purposes of keeping us in a one down position, because that's where they want you. They want you enslaved. They want you broke, fat, sick, devastated, brokenhearted. They want you in the lowest form of your fullest expression, your fullest multidimensionality, because that serves them and their system, their dying, burning, crumbling, crippling system that breaks the people who serve it the most. The bigger they are, the harder they fall. The more wealthy they are, the more famous they are, the longer they are in it, the longer they sell these lies, the bigger their downfall and karma will be. That's a correlative, obvious statement. I don't have to bring stats or facts to show you that. History has proven that over and over and over again. So anybody who wants to tell you, I don't like small talk, or I'm neurodivergent, or I need this med for my blood pressure, they're still in the system. Anybody who watches the Super Bowl, still in the system. Anybody who watches movies and shows to numb out, or takes weed or booze to numb out. And I'm guilty. I like my edibles to sleep. I'll admit it. Because I live with all this horror and I have PTSD, CPTSD, or whatever the letters are, right? I don't have DID, thankfully. I think a lot of them do. What is DID? Dissociative identity disorder. I don't dissociate, I meditate. I don't have an identity crisis. I know who I am. I know who I am and why I'm here. And I have probably known that since I was 10 years old and wrote my first poem. And I'm a writer. I'm a scribe. I am a word magic person. I am not a witch. I am an oracle. I am a prophet of sorts, even though that sounds more like a biblical word and very hoity-toity for just somebody who sees ahead. A precog is a better word. Someone who knows things before they happen. Someone who can actually, through their words, shape things to happen. This is a scary gift and skill to have, because if you're not in the driver's seat of it, other people will try to drive you. And they're not very good drivers. They drive too fast. They drive sloppy. They drive aggressively. They drive all over the road, and they want to drive us over a cliff. So be in the driver's seat of your life, and then also enjoy being a passenger princess sometimes and just being in observer mode and looking out the window at the pretty scenery. That's what you have to do in your brain. That's what I mean by not just coping, but or surviving, but thriving. Thriving says, I see the evil. I will not allow it to penetrate and permeate my soul. I will approach it from an intellectual angle. I will not allow it to infect me emotionally anymore because there's nothing you can do. You can't pity them into loving you. You can't fawn enough for them to respect or leave you alone. You can't threaten, intimidate, or bully them back because that's just how they are and they're just used to it and they're jaded and they're cynical and they're not hopeful. Because if you're anyone anywhere in that system and you're a proponent at all of the New World Order, you're fucked. You're damned and you're doomed. And you're done. And those of us who are awake, and I don't mean woke, I mean awake and on fire and passionate about protecting the rights of humanity. And I'm not talking even politically now because they're all the same, you guys. The red hats, the blue shirts, whatever. There's no, good ones in the mix, or we would have a lot more action towards, actually protecting children and women instead of exploiting them, harming them, and then lying about it. Because that's the rinse, repeat, boring pattern that they do. And I think some of them do want out. I think some of them are sick of playing the role they've been playing forever. And they're bored. They're bored of, evil is boring. And you have to keep one-upping and upping the ante to become more stimulated or have dopamine hits or, their adrenochrome addictions, whatever. So, they're all looking skeletal and gross lately. And it's sort of like they're slowly starving themselves to death. And the whole old expression of you can never be too rich or too thin, I'm going to tell you, stay poor and fat, right? Because, I don't want to have to eat babies to get a yacht, right? Like, I don't want to be in rituals where they're sodomizing children, giving them panda eyes to be able to get a little tin trophy that I stick on a wall in my mansion, one of my many mansions. There aren't enough mansions or yachts in the world to obliterate the shame and guilt and heaviness that a normal person, a person with a heart and a soul, would feel from harming the hair on a head of one child, let alone seeing kids as rotisserie chickens they just pick up at the grocery store and bring home and eat and, talk about their day. That's how they see babies. Like a non-vegan or vegetarian would see a rotisserie chicken you'd get at the grocery store. That's the regard level they have for human children. Okay. Now, those of you who are vegetarian and vegan, good for you. That's great. If that's an elevated consciousness position for you, excellent. If you feel it's too violent to hurt animals and eat them, I support that for you. I do not think it's for everyone. I do not think everybody's body is the same. We are bio-individual, yet they want to give everybody the same 10 diagnoses: breast cancer, PCOS, prostate cancer. That's because they're fucking poisoning you, okay? And your body is responding with anomalies and metastatic tumors, right? Which are from the food, from the air, from the water. Now, do I sound like a paranoid conspiracy theorist, or are you starting to fucking wake up and get it? I'm not yelling at you. I'm just frustrated. I'm passionate. And I am in awe of the mass stupidity we have. I'm not trying to be a snob when I say that, or elevate myself and think I'm superior and you're inferior if you don't know what I know. But I am curious as to why you're not curious, why you won't do research, why you just accept the bullshit narratives they keep shoving down your throats. And you do it with a smile, and you hand over your money while they're raping children and trafficking them and raping them and trafficking them, and you're buying, their shit. You're helping, you're paying for that. Now, I'm not saying we can all go live in the woods and, be off-grid and not support, this system in some way. But I think you need to get more conscious about it, more deliberate about it. I have a shopping habit. I'm working on it, right? I'm trying to fill a void. We all are. We all have our different things, right? They're trying to numb you. They're trying to diagnose you. They're trying to medicate you so you don't see through them, so you don't see the monster behind the mask. And I'm just not wired that way, and I never have been, and I never will be. So if I'm not credible to you and I sound crazy, that's fine. Check in with me in a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and say, how did you know? And I will say to you then what I will say to you now. How do you not? So if I sound contemptuous, it's not of you. or your sleep state. It's of the whole system itself, and wishing it would collapse faster so we can rebuild better for real, not as some platform or slogan or bullshit t-shirt hat thing. Like put it on a t-shirt, put it on a hat, put it on a bumper sticker, or live it, walk it, talk it, be about it. Don't preach about it. Especially don't preach to people who are more worldly, well-traveled, better read, and have a higher IQ than you. Don't do it. And that means women. I mean, I feel like women are so underestimated, so undervalued, and so mistreated on this planet. And I mean real biological women. I'm not even getting into the cosplay or the woman face right now. I'm just not doing it. I'm not phobic of anyone or anything. I tell you what, I'm pretty fucking fearless at this point because speaking truth to so-called power, you get stronger every time you do it. And every time you find your voice and use it against evil or against injustice, you get stronger, you get clearer, and you get healthier. So you want Youthing serum? It's not adrenochrome. It's not snake venom to help you lose weight. It is, or something based on snake venom they created in a lab, whatever. It is knowing your own soul and being so in love with that journey and so in love with that discovery and so passionate about maybe helping others ignite into their own next level, next awareness, peel back the layer of the onion. It stinks and it's going to make you cry, but it's going to be better in the long run. To stop believing their lies, because that's all they know, that's all they do. They're cowards. They live in fear of exposure and discovery, and so they become aggressive and they lash out and crash out and they have mantrums and diva bitch fits. And this shows you that they're broken and fragmented, and they're probably MK Ultra, beta kitty, gigolo, honeypot losers who have nothing better to do than watch our every move because we're their reality show, we're their entertainment. Ridiculous, right? It is all so elaborate and so scuzzy and so absurd and so dangerous and so dark and so demonic. So what do we do? How do we help? How do we fix it? How do we change it? I guess you do go to your town hall. I guess you do vote and you make calls. That's one level. That makes some people feel like they're doing their civic duty. I think voting is a farce. It's bread and circus. They give you like little breadcrumbs to think you have some sense of power or agency or sovereignty in your life. If you actually have those things, voting is a farce and it's a waste of time and energy. That said, we vote all the time, every day with our energy and with what we consume and with what we put out. And, there is a marketplace and we're all in it and we are all selling something, I guess. What I'm selling to you today is truth, which really doesn't have a price. And it is unparalleled as far as medicine goes. People say laughter. People say playfulness and joy. Absolutely. I agree with those things. Silliness and whimsy. However, in the face of such stark and vast and slippery evil, you also have to have discernment and you have to know when and how to take things seriously and drop the mask and the act and the coping mechanisms of dark humor to pretend that this isn't really happening or it can't be real because my brain can't go there. Well, your brain and your heart are in for awakenings, and they're in for rude awakenings if you're not doing any kind of research about what is the real world behind the scenes, behind the act, and behind the narratives and the lies they sell you. That's all. That's enough for today, I think. But so question everything, trust no one, accept yourself and your creator, and maybe, some dogs or cats. Because people are flawed. We're fallible, and we don't always get it right. I don't always get it right, but I do my best, and that's all anyone can ever ask of you, too. So if doing your best today looks like take a nap in the middle of the day while the world is crumbling around us, if it looks like take a walk, if it looks like phone a friend, if it looks like make a meal, if it looks like, sitting under a tree reading a book, if it looks like sitting by a river and crying, whatever it is, keep your humanity. They sold theirs out. They put that humanity switch in the off position permanently the minute they hurt a child and said that I didn't have a choice. There was no other option. There is. There is always another option, and there is always a better option. So keep choosing that. And keep choosing love, the real kind, which doesn't shut up and roll over, and it doesn't go away. It holds evil accountable, and it looks it in the face, and it says, no, you will not win today. There you go. Mwah.